this meeting to order at 2 p.m. and we will take a moment to give our attention to a short video that will play.
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom meeting pursuant to the provisions of Assembly Bill 361, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being live streamed on the CCTA website. The chair will call upon members, staff, and other speakers by name. Please speak clearly and state your name before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members participating by Zoom wishing to speak should physically raise their hand and unmute their mic when called upon. Members should mute their mics when done speaking. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the Raise Hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. After 3 minutes, staff will lower their hand and mute their mic. Participants via phone will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received in accordance with the teleconferencing special notice for public comment guidelines are printed on the meeting agenda. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
Thank you, and thank you, Ying, for taking care of making sure our video meeting instructions kicked us off. And Jackie, will you please conduct a roll call vote? A roll call.
Yes, thank you. Member Barnes. Member Burgess.
Here.
Member Braxton. Member Carlson.
Here.
Member Franklin.
Here.
Member Hudson.
Here.
Member Hirsch. Member Kamara.
Here.
Member Levin. Member McCrary.
Here.
Member Meyer.
Here.
Member Thompson. Member Toth.
Here.
Member Xavier.
Here.
Vice Chair Haskew.
Here.
Chair Geringer.
Here.
Okay, we have all members present except for members Barnes, Braxton, Hirsch, Levin, and Thompson, and we do have quorum.
Great, thank you. And our next item on the agenda will be public comment. Have we received any written public comment, Jackie?
No written public comment received.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak? Are there any members of the public here? It sounded like all members, but who would like to speak at this time on any item that is not on the agenda? And
I wanted to make a quick note that Member Braxton has arrived.
Thank you. Thank you. And I don't see any hands raised, so we will move on to the consent calendar and welcome Member Braxton. We'll move on to the consent calendar. Does anyone have any comments on the consent calendar item? Are there any members of the public who would like to speak to the consent item? Seeing no hands, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
A motion. And who was the second? Oh, thank you. Susanna Meyer, thank you. So we have a motion by Supervisor Carlson and a second by Member Myers. So Jackie, will you please now conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. Member Barnes? Member Burgess?
Yes.
Member Braxton? Let's give her one more chance. Member Braxton?
Here.
Thank you. Member Carlson,
Yes.
Member Franklin,
Yes.
Member Hudson,
Yes.
Member Hirsch, Member Kamara,
Yes.
Member Levin, Member McCrary,
Yes.
Member Meyer,
Yes.
Member Thompson, Member Toth,
Yes.
Member Xavier,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haskew, Vice Chair Haskew.
Yes.
Thank you. Chair Geringer.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously with members Barnes, Hirsch, Levin, and Thompson absent.
Great, thank you. So now we'll move on to our regular agenda items. And our first item, item number 4, will be approval to request 1.4 million of Measure X funding in fiscal year 2023-2024 to support the implementation of the Accessible Transportation Strategic Plan. And so with that, I will turn it over to Ying Smith and John Cunningham.
Yeah.
John is going to start the presentation.
Great. Thank you, Naomi, for getting the presentation up. Yeah, my name is John Cunningham. I'm a transportation planner with Contra Costa County, and I'm working closely with Ying and Naomi on the ATS team on the implementation of the Accessible Transportation Strategic Plan. And I will jump right into this item. So we are seeking the task force's input and ultimately approval to submit strategies to the Contra Costa County Board of Supervisors to be funded with the next cycle of Measure X funding. I'm going to provide just a bit of background on the Measure X process because we now have some experience with this. I can back up and answer some questions if necessary, but Measure X was passed by the Contra Costa County voters in 2020, and it is a half-cent sales tax meant to support, in summary, and in my language, really, vulnerable communities. And so there's a number of different strategies being funded in addition to accessible transportation. There's a housing program, there's an illegal dumping program for impoverished communities, that sort of thing. But the focus of the program is, as I say, vulnerable communities. So the Contra Costa Transportation Authority, CCTA, was approved for $1.4 million in the first cycle to initiate the implementation of the ATS plan. That first cycle was approved by, I'm sorry, backing up, the ATS plan, which I think we're all up to speed on, was approved by the CCTA board and the Board of Supervisors in 2021. Now, the ATS projects approved for Measure X in the last cycle were developed by staff and approved by CCTA because this group had not yet been formed yet. So we were sort of between oversight bodies, and so we went to the Transportation Authority Board directly. However, we now have the luxury of this body, and we'll get input from you here now. And so we're bringing our recommendations, and I'm going to go over them. I'm going to go over them now. Can you hit the next slide, please? As I sort of mentioned, is that the next slide? Yeah, I think so. I thought there was a slide with the strategies. No? Well, okay. As I mentioned earlier, there's a slide that mentions the technology plan. I don't know who's controlling the slides, Naomi.
They are in the staff report because the strategies are quite long, so would just easy to ask all of you to refer to the staff report.
Got it. Thank you. I must be looking at an old version of the PowerPoint. So I mentioned earlier, sorry, I'll get back on track here, that we're going to focus on strategies this cycle rather than specific programs as we did on the last cycle. This is going to allow us the flexibility to sort of pivot between projects, which we have found is necessary because implementing the ATS plan has been, and I think it's going to continue to be, learning experience. And so having sort of a menu of things to choose from is going to help us be flexible in moving ahead. And as we do move ahead with the specific programs under those strategies, we're going to consult with the staff working group, which is sort of serving as our technical advisory committee. And then we'll, of course, come to this body as well as we sort of roll these programs out. And so briefly, as Ying just mentioned, they are in the staff report. I'm going to just touch on some of them. We have a technology plan. We have sort of bundled a number of strategies together and put it under the umbrella of a technology plan. And that's going to include one call, one click type processes, real-time information. We're going to administer in conjunction with the transit operators, ADA paratransit eligibility certification program, and then we can work on joint paratransit scheduling software under this technology program as well. And so, and you've heard me state this before, and I just want to keep reminding this group, the ATS implementation, we're focusing on taking an efficient approach, and that means sort of a staged implementation. The first thing we want to do is leverage, when possible, existing expertise and existing capacity, either in the sort of the nonprofit community or in the public sector. And this is very much true with the technology plan. A lot of the foundation for this software type issues are already out there in the community, and we just really need to connect them. And so that's what this is going to focus on, the technology plan. And then I did want to touch on one, well, I'll touch on a couple of them, but we also have under strategy 1, improve the connectivity between the paratransit programs. And this is going to allow more convenient travel, I guess, in summary. And this includes and is related to the One Seat Ride pilot program that you've heard us talk about in this group and other groups as well. And I'm going to take a quick aside on the One Seat Ride program. We've heard that there are a number of concerns and questions with the match requirement for the One Seat Ride program. So in response to that, we are going to develop a technical memo that provides the background and rationale for the match requirement. The One Seat Ride program, I guess, is not nearly as simple as it may seem on the surface of it, and that is going to be clarified in the upcoming memo. We'll bring that memo to the working group for discussion, so staff can kick it around, and then ultimately we'll bring it on to this body. So that aside, I'll move on to some of the other strategies that we want to fund with the new Measure X cycle. We want to look at same-day service programs. We want to fund travel training, and we'd also like to provide a sort of a consistent curriculum across the county for travel training programs. That is one other strategy. We're going to continue with the means-based fare subsidy. That's a program that is now up and running in East County. And then we also want to look at very broadly coordination and mobility management activities that really is at the heart of the ATS plan. And also, as an aside, MTC passed a resolution a number of years ago directing this county, along with Solano County, I believe, to initiate mobility management activities. So we are fulfilling that with this activity. And then we also want to start working with the Contra Costa Health Plan and the Health Services Department for a hospital discharge service. For those that aren't aware, Contra Costa Health Plan and Health Services, they have an extensive transportation program that we hope to leverage and sort of bring into the coordination fold that is what is at the heart of the ATS plan. And with that, that ends my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that folks might have.
Okay. So Ying, did you have anything else to add to that before I go to the commissioner comments?
Thank you, Chair. I think just very briefly, in the service plan, which is attachment to your staff report, we talk about how this process, how we work on this process of the use of the Measure X funds. There's some stronger language and requirements in it. And we also lay out a process. So I want to point out that there are many strategies we're bringing in for this upcoming year. And there are many projects. And some strategies, I would say some projects we have to, they're farther along, we haven't really started them yet. It's actually a very, very ambitious program. And we're all looking for willing partners. CCTA and county staff, and even with our wonderful Nelson Niagara team, cannot do this alone. We are looking for willing partners in the West County pilot model. I think what makes that project so promising is we have really strong support from WICTAC and City of San Pablo. So that is the model how we implement those projects. I think just like there's more details in the service plan, and happy reading in that pretty lengthy document. Now we're ready to answer questions.
Great, thank you. And I see Rashida has her hands up. If there are other task force members who have comments or questions, please raise your hand now. Rashida.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Great presentation. So I just had a couple of questions. First, I wanted to say I'm always a willing partner. 3CTA is always a willing partner. So if you want to, launch any one of these and you need our help, I'm down for that. But I had a question about the technology plan. I'm looking at the strategies and it seems to encompass number 11, 13, and 18. 11 is one click for information, one call, one click for informational referral. 13 is real-time transportation information, paratransit vehicle location, BART elevators, etc. And then the last one is 18, procure joint paratransit scheduling software. I just wanted some clarification. Has the work to determine what this software will look like started? Are you going to be putting out an RFP that describes this technology? Do you see it as one? Do you see it as multiple pieces of technology housed in different places talking to each other? The reason why I'm asking is because there is a software called the RED Regional Eligibility Database that's purely for paratransit. I know that we're trying to fold in other things when it comes to the different transit options that'll be available, but is it something that'll mimic that? Is that something that can be built or bridged with something like that, so that instead of going out for something that, we got to build it from scratch? I've heard several times during the course of these conversations, we want to leverage existing programs, or in this particular case, it's an actual software. A lot of the transit companies in Contra Costa County, public transportation companies, they already use scheduling softwares. Will there be an opportunity to leverage those? Are there going to be conversations under which those can potentially be used so that we can partner in order for this to happen? Because I know that on a small level, 3CTA is doing that for a nonprofit. So I guess once we get to that, since it seems to be sitting at the top, I don't know who and who are in the working group, or who and who, I don't know who the boots are on the ground in order to even wrap our hands around what this could be. I'm sorry, that's like statements and questions all rolled up into one. So I hope you understood, Rashida.
I did understand. I'm going to reply to your questions as I can recall them, but please direct me as appropriately. The answer is no, the work has not begun on that. We would not take one step on this process without consulting with the transit operators for the wealth of information that you just provided, Rashida. You guys have the software, you guys have the expertise, and this is one of those situations where we're going to leverage existing investments, existing resources, existing expertise, and at most connect these pieces of software and let them talk to each other. And so there will probably be an RFP for that will go out for review to the working group and probably wider with the transit operators, again, because of the expertise, which frankly you just demonstrated a second ago, Rashida. And so, yeah, this is And this will be done collaboratively. I'm glad you mentioned the RED database. I mean, you and I have talked about this over the years. I've spoken with MTC staff over the years. It's it's a huge undertaking, led by County Connection that benefits the entire region. Although I have heard from some folks that it could use some updating, and so this is something that could potentially invest in that already, significant investment made by County Connection. So yeah, this is as with most everything in the ATS plan, it's designed to be collaborative. I hope I answered all your questions.
No, you did. I just wanted to, for those on the group regarding the ways in which this type of collaboration will work, even though the RED exists and it houses the information of all the public transit agencies, their paratransit individuals. I found out maybe just about a year and a half ago when we took on another paratransit. We shared our software with them so they didn't have to go get software, and their eligibility clerk would put the qualified eligibility individuals in the RED. But what would happen is that their contractor had to do double work. They now had to take a piece of paper, they'd walk a piece of paper to the other side of the room, and they'd hand it to somebody, and they'd sit at their computer and click away and double the work. So I said, now, I may not be Marty McFly or Doc Brown, but I'm pretty sure that there's a way to automate this. So when I came to County Connection, instead of my people doing it twice, I said, find the link, find the tunnel, find the twilight zone. And they looked at it for a little bit and they were able to find the link. East Bay Paratransit is doing it. And so we started doing it. So no longer double work. When we started working with LAFTA, the same thing, no longer double work. So the system can talk to each other. You enter it into one database, which is maybe your Trapeze database or your scheduling software. It gets dumped into the RED, and then you can move and shuffle these individuals around so that they no longer have to do double applications, a different type of applications when they get to different areas, which of course is very, very cumbersome. You just have them do one application, get into one system, and then you can move them around if somebody moves. Right now, we've opened it up. We're actually working with Tri-Delta to get their system set up so that they can start doing that dump. And it's my people that are helping them to do that. And we've offered that to anybody who used the RED, and they're kind of now standing in line, getting their IT people. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that there are some softwares there that are available. And like you said, we need to be able to leverage that so that we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't want to spend a whole lot of money wasting what we could be doing. We need to be using that money to actually, for actual operations. We got to the point where we're actually moving people.
Yep, we're
right.
speaking the same language. We're not here to reinvent the wheel. We're not here to build an empire. We're here to be efficient. So thank you, Rashida.
Thank you. Debbie Toth.
Thank you. I didn't know if you saw my hand there because it was
I
blending
did.
into my multicolored background. My question was quick, although I really enjoyed the Marty McFly reference, having just found Ethan's Back to the Future shoes that he bought when he was 7. But I wondered, John, you mentioned, and thank you for the presentation and Ying the well wishes on reading the voluminous work. I wondered, John, you mentioned the one seat ride not being as simple as it may seem, and that we were going to be discussing some of that in the work group, and in the development of a white paper. I wonder if that's specific just to our pilot of it, or in general one seat ride initiatives, or is it some combination thereof?
Well, there will be some local specificity just because of the Measure X 50% match requirement that doesn't exist anywhere else in the Bay Area. But conceptually, the sort of the policy issues around that program and the operations issues around that program, they're going to apply to the region, to the state.
Okay,
Yeah.
so can I just note that Rashida is not on the work group and needs to be a part of the conversation?
Thank you for reminding me that. I did not realize that.
Well, because every time we go to the work group, I text her and say, where are you? And every time she says, Debbie, hello, I've already told you this.
Well,
I'm not part of the work group.
Well, and for those in this meeting that aren't aware, Rashida is the lead for the One Seat Ride program, not just in Contra Costa County, but probably for the entire region. She's the expert. She's got the knowledge. So I will absolutely consult with Rashida on that document, working group or not. Thank you for that reminder.
Okay, anyone else have any comments or questions? Not seeing any hands raised. Are there any members of the public who have any comments or questions before I ask for a motion? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised. And so, excuse me, if there are no additional comments or questions, do we have a motion to approve the request?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Supervisor Task Force Member Burgess and Vice Chair Loella Haskew. So Jackie, can you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you. Member Barnes? Member Burgess?
Yes.
Member Braxton? Member Braxton, I think you're muted. Are you there? Okay, I'll come back to her. Member Carlson?
Yes.
Member Franklin? Member Hudson?
Yes.
Member Hirsch? Member Kamara?
Yes.
Member Levin? Member McCrary?
Yes.
Member Meyer?
Yes.
Member Thompson? Member Toth?
Yes.
Member Xavier?
Aye.
Vice Chair Haskew?
Yes.
Chair Geringer?
Yes.
And I'm going to go back. Member Braxton, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
I'm using the phone and it's driving me crazy. Okay.
No worries. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that. Okay, so all members are present except for members Barnes, Franklin, Hirsch, Levin, and Thompson, and the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And thank you to staff for all of the work and to Rashida and Debbie for the questions and comments. We all learn as we move forward through this process. So thank you. And we will now move to regular agenda item B, which is an information only item, and it's an update or progress report on the Accessibility and Equity Advisory Committee membership and appointing authority. And I believe I'm turning this over to Naomi.
Thank you. So I want to reiterate, as we said, this is not an action item. This is an update. And we had this discussion in April at the last task force meeting. So we didn't want to lose sight of this topic. We are adjusting some of our timelines for our implementation, which you're going to keep hearing about and Ying's going to address next. But I did want to refresh everyone on where we were in this discussion. So the feedback that we heard at the last meeting about the proposal, there were concerns for increased transit agency representation. There were also concerns for increased NGO or certain communities representation, discussions about avoiding overlap with other seats and positions, concerns with how it would work to appoint the coordinating entity representative, partially because the coordinating entity does not exist yet. Who would be the appointing authority of the at-large seats and how that would work? And what are our possibilities and some of our options for addressing some of these issues through ad hoc committees? So that's a very high-level summary. I want to also refresh for you that this was the recommendation that those concerns were brought up about. And we've been working on draft bylaws that we hope address some of those issues. And within our new, timeline, you will get to see those. But again, this is the recommendation, which was 2 seats from the CCTA board, 1 seat from the Board of Supervisors, 1 from the coordinating entity, 1 from the Bus Transit Coordinating Committee, 1 from the Paratransit Coordinating Council, which should specifically be a paratransit user or rider. Representative from County Health Services and Health Plan, NGO/advocate/service provider representative, and also a community representative who could represent 1 or more demographic groups, such as older adults, people with disabilities, or low income. So that was the current status of the recommendation for a refined small committee. And as I said, we just wanted to touch base with you on this again, and we are happy to take any questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Naomi. So are there any questions or comments? Rashida.
Oh, yeah. The question I had is that I know this was presented for 13. Your earlier slide talked about the concerns. So what's being presented today is a repeat of what was presented for 13. So was anything done to address the concerns that were brought up after this initial presentation?
I don't know that it's visible in the slides that we have, but we've tried to address some of them in some of our bylaws draft.
I don't think I saw
So for instance, which is not ready for prime time yet, but we have definitely been discussing, the concerns, just as an example, our bylaws propose a nominating subcommittee for some of the at-large seats so that we could request representation from some pertinent organizations, and then a nominating subcommittee of the advisory committee could then present that recommendation to the CCTA board for who should fill that seat. So that's just one example.
Okay. The reason why I'm saying that is because I don't think that it's good to highlight what the concerns were, but if they haven't been addressed for folks to actually see it, like it was modified to either address the concerns. I know you've addressed some of it in the bylaws, but if we can't look at it, then kind of looking at this again without the concerns being addressed, it's just kind of sitting in front of us. So I think that if some of the concerns are going to be addressed, whether on this spreadsheet by the members that are being slotted in here, or whether it's addressed by the bylaws, I think that it'll be difficult for people to either feel comfortable of saying, yes, let's go forward with it, or not, without actually seeing how the concern was addressed.
Well, by the time it's an action item, we will, have some response.
Okay.
We'll have a response by at that
Okay.
time.
Okay.
Let me add a little bit more context to it. We wanted to give you, because some of the task force members are not on the working group. So since we did discuss it at length at the April meeting and a little bit at the May meeting, we feel like we should give you an update to let you know where things are, where things were left. We don't have all the answers yet. We are working on addressing the concerns or let me just say it, disagreements. Then it takes time. So in the next item, you see how we move some of the items and move the timeline. It probably, some of it requires staff and consultants to go back and do more homework. So at today's meeting, we are not ready to answer those questions. But we do want to let you know where things were left off. So with that, we're making progress, or at least we spend effort on it. But where things are, but we are not ready for you to taken action to decide anything yet.
Sounds good. I think that's what I was trying to say to say that this is just an update, right? Because we don't see where the concerns have been addressed yet. So I think that makes sense.
Thank you. And are there any other questions or comments? Since we made most of those comments last time and it's still a work in progress. And then are there any members of the public who would like to, oh, Debbie.
Yeah, I feel like it's the Rashida and Debbie show. I just would, I would be remiss if I didn't say it still feels incredibly heavy, not on the people who are impacted by it side. Lots of government, very, very little input from folks who specialize in accessible transportation and folks who specialize in using it. And I understand we're not done yet, but I feel remiss if I don't make that comment that 85–90% of that body is not the people who are impacted by it or who are experts in providing accessible transportation systems built around the user, the rider, and not the system. And that's all I'll say on that. And thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I saw definitely notice of acknowledgement to both Rashida and Debbie's comments. And so are there any members of the public who would like to comment on this? Okay, so since it's an information item, thank you very much to staff, and we will move on to agenda item C, which is another update, an update on the work plan, the Office of Accessibility, Equity, and Coordinating Entity 2023 work plan, and it has been updated. We were working towards working ourselves out of being a task force, and we're pushing that back just a little bit. So thank you in advance for your continued service. And I will turn this over, I believe, to Ying.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This is in the packet, the online packet, and I just want to highlight some of the major changes. I think Naomi's presentation pretty much explained why we have to shift some of the work items. And trust me, I have a track changing versions and it's way too busy for myself. So in this version, I highlighted, use yellow to highlight the advisory committee AC related items that either new work items or they have been rescheduled. And use blue to highlight the coordinating entity, the CE roles and responsibilities. They're either new or highlight rescheduled items. So overall, we move those two groups of tasks further into later part of this year because we realize we need time to have more conversations and more discussions. And as Chair Geringer mentioned that we are not recommending sunset of this task force at this meeting. We want to push it to October and see where we are. It could be we may need more time and staff is ready to address accordingly. So this just highlights this, some of the major changes of shifting the work. This is a living document. I think it's already slightly outdated because we're not ready to talk to you about West County pilot today. So that's kind of the highlight of what have been changed. And want to again keep you up to date of like the work plan mapping out for the whole 12 months. So happy to answer questions on this document, this update.
So while you still have it up, Ying, and maybe I'm mixing up one of the boxes or the flow. So there will be the next meeting of the task force is October 19th. Is that right?
October 12th.
Okay, so it's in October. The working group will continue to work, will review membership roles, bylaws, all of those things. And then it shows in the September that we'll forward that recommendations on advisory committee membership and bylaws to the task force. But it shows it going to the authority board before it comes to the task force. Am I reading that right? On September 21, it shows considers AC membership.
You are correct. I don't think that makes sense now. Thanks for highlighting it. I think we do need to move it to either October or November for the CCTA board.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I mean, a lot of moving boxes. And so I, was reasonably convinced that I had it backwards or something. So anyway, thank you very much. And if we could pull that down, are there any other members who, committee members, task force members who have any comments on the work plan? Other than you're excited to continue to come together as a task force and meet and continue to work on this. I needed actually to just wake myself up a little bit. That's why I was getting there. So anybody else? So I don't see any other comments, any members of the public who have comments on this. Going once, going twice, and again, information only. So we're now going to move to regular agenda item D. And this is an update on our East County means-based fare pilot program. And I appreciated the data in the, in the staff report, and I'll turn it back over to you to provide an update.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to actually tag team with Naomi on this one. I would start. So here are the numbers, and I think this is the first time you saw a update report. We started the program on April 1st, and we are in month 3 of the 6-month pilot. And what we got the ADA paratransit passenger database from Tri-Delta Transit, and we sent out postcards to about 2,000 passengers that were on the list, both English and Spanish, and they identified as Spanish-speaking customers. We have received unique inquiries from about 51 customers, and our partner, the Contra Costa Crisis Center, did the income eligibility verification, and then they approved 24 passengers as of today, and they mailed the ticket books to all of them. We also have some numbers on where the customers came from. So those are the numbers. I want to add a little bit more, some highlights we heard from both the Crisis Center as well as Tri-Delta Transit, the Customer Service Center. Overall, the numbers are a bit lower than we expected. Our calculation, but when we prepare for this pilot, was we have about 400 passengers who are eligible. That is an estimate. Then it's not a number we know for sure. Naomi will talk to you more about the additional outreach to increase more awareness, get the word out. The good news is the Crisis Center, it's a phone line 24/7. Sometimes it does have, they have to return the phone call to the customers. And in the process of the experiences, they do have to talk to them. It's a conversation to really understand what the customer is looking for and what information they will need to provide to go through the income verification process. Our partner is able to also offer other relevant services to the customers who called. This is a vulnerable population we're trying to serve, and it's really important for them to have that kind of personal touch to understand not only the transportation needs, but other needs they may have, and offer those referral to them. We also heard from our Tri-Delta Transit partner, and they are in full support of this program. They've been very, very patient with, this starting out as a new program. We have some hiccups, so let me just be honest. They've been very, very patient with the process, and they gave us a lot of good ideas how to get the word out and how to improve customer service. So I just want to end it there and let Naomi finish up the presentation.
Thank you. So we worked together to do some updated engagement to get the word out farther and bring in more people who need the help. And we converted our postcards into flyers, including in Spanish, so that they could be put in the vehicles and posted at different locations. One specific place was the Antioch Senior Center, dialysis units. I know there were other specific places that Deanna had identified to take the flyers to. And then what was really helpful was that TriDelta Transit used some of that software we were just talking about to send out an IVR call to all of their riders, letting them know about this opportunity. And I think anecdotally, we know the calls are up. So hopefully the next time we give you, some numbers, you'll be able to see that. We are either have or will send out the information via a county e-newsletter. I think it's a supervisor's newsletter, and email sent to board members and emails sent to local service agencies and community partners. So we're working closely with TriDelta Transit to come up with ideas for who to get the word out to on this program. And I think we're ready for any questions now.
Great, thank you. And Ying, you were right. I said staff report, but I meant the presentation that you sent out ahead of time. It was good to see the update in there and the outreach plan. And I've been doing so well. Rashida, I did really well until then. So thank you.
No, that was funny. You had to not think about it too much.
I know, and I wasn't at the beginning. So and Mr. Burns isn't even here. So
first of all, I wanted to mention that if you're coming short of your 400 and you need addition, we're more than happy to be a part of this program. So let me know what I can do to assist you to get to your 400 numbers. Second of all, how did you come up with that 400 numbers? What process did TriDelta use to come up with that 400 numbers? And even though we're giving them this means-based program, what's going to be our measuring tool for success that'll determine? I mean, we know it's successful because there are a handful of people that are using it. So I know that it's successful for them. But what's going to be our tool for success for us so that this program it gets folded, not just in TriDelta, but it gets folded throughout Contra Costa County? And will it just be for, if it is successful in that manner, will it then just be for ADA paratransit? Have we identified that ADA paratransit's cost is the one that triggers the means-based fare? Or are there other transportation options out there for individuals other than volunteer service that maybe have a cost associated with it, in which individuals can then apply for this program? And that's like maybe step 5 down the line. But I think the first thing is, how did we come up with the 400? And what's going to be our trigger point when it comes to success?
So I'm going to address the first question. So what we did was we looked at the census data for the appropriate area above age 65, and to see that proportion that fell within the HUD data for the extremely low income. And that's how we came up with the proportion. And then we applied that proportion, that percentage, to the TriDelta Transit registration numbers. And so that's how we came up with the estimate of up to 400 people being income eligible and wanting the program. And then in terms of measurement of success, I'm going to check if Ying wants to answer that first.
I think success is we deliver the benefits to our customers, especially the customer who need it the most. We don't have hard number because this is really the first time we're doing it in Contra Costa County as well, probably in many compared to other peer agencies. So I don't think we ever said if we don't reach the 400 number, this is not good enough. I think it's really important not only the number of people who use it, but the people who actually benefit from it. Some of the comments I heard was our passengers are very, very grateful. But we don't have a big number, but the people who receive the free tickets, they're very grateful for this benefit. And I would say there's nothing stops us from expanding the program to other agencies or other forms of services in transportation. I think the what stops is our capacity to deliver. There are a lot of little things that takes time and effort to address those issues. Like, for example, we have Tri-Delta Transit that their customers are familiar with their phone number. They know the reservation agents, but now we ask them to call the 211 number. It's not an ideal arrangement, and I'm glad we're very small and we want to address that, but it's a good lesson learned, right? I'm not saying this is not a good solution, but we are struggling with this two places our customers have to figure out which number we're supposed to call. So there's some of the issues that we want to improve in the next service. So Rishida, I know you want to see this program throughout, especially to at least first to County Connection. Would love to talk to you more, but we just need to manage all the different things going on first.
Oh, not a problem. My arms are welcome to anything and everything. I think that's a really good point about the phone number, because if the advertising is to call that number, I'm not exactly sure how much, other than posting the advertising in buses, if somebody's identified, are they identified maybe in their database so that maybe a call center agent can also advertise it? Oh, it looks as if when I looked at my computer, you're identified and you may qualify for this program. And then specifically tell the person, because that is about somebody that they know, now actually telling them, but that you'd have to tick it or check it or verify it in Tri-Delta's database, so that if they call the paratransit person to Tri-Delta to actually book their ride, then the call center agent will be able to speak to that. You qualify for 3 books of tickets under this program because they've been identified as such in the computer. Just as a way, if you're not getting an increase in those calls, because 24 out of 400, 1 denial for income eligibility, there's obviously room for certain people who you've already identified to make use of this. And if the barrier is trying to train them or get them to call the correct number, or them not actually seeing the flyer, then somebody else probably somebody that they're actually in contact with may be able to help with the outreach. Just a thought.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I see shaking of head. Any members of the public who have a comment? Actually, Debbie Toth.
Yeah, I can't let Rashida talk and not talk since it's our show today. I just wanted to remind our friend Myrtle Braxton that we have a West County pilot that's coming. We're just not discussing it today because it's not quite ready for prime time. But I feel like every time we talk about something else being done somewhere else, we need to at least remind folks that there is something brewing for West County and we are working on it, and it's just not ready for prime time. Is that correct?
Yes, in the work plan, we were trying to schedule the West County pilot for this meeting. I know our team has many conversations, many meetings with the partners there. It takes time to develop a service program. It takes even longer, like even for a mean space when we're just providing free tickets, it's a lot of details. Providing a new service is even more. So that's the holdup. All the partners are fully engaged. We all want to see this happen in West County. It just takes time to develop it. We will also try to I know it's a teaser. We'll try to build a mean space into the new West County medical pilot. So it's built in rather than like an afterthought kind of, not necessarily like kind of like a house addition, but we want to just build in all together. So we're pretty ambitious of trying to get all those things done.
Great, thank you. And Myrtle.
I just wanted to say thank you, Debbie. And I wanted to add that maybe in the future, when you're setting up a pilot program, think about West County at that time, and think about the fact that everything you do, pilots, you always start in East County. I know that's where the county buildings and everything are located, but we're still part of Contra Costa County. So thank you very much, Debbie, and thank you, whoever thought of throwing us in.
Thank you. And thank you, Myrtle. Definitely in the conversations, and I know Rita Xavier raises the issues as well. I see her nodding her head about that the needs are throughout the county and having pilot programs in those, all the areas of our county. So thank you, Debbie and Myrtle, for lifting that again. And Rita, I just channeled your inner voice from all of our previous meetings. So thank you. Any other comments or on this particular item? Well, again, thank you to staff. Thank you for continuing to push this forward. We are now down to correspondence and communications. And Jackie, I think I know the answer, but do we have any correspondence or communications?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. So as noted earlier, we are adjourning this meeting until October 12th. Staff, I am standing by. Any of the members of the working group are ready to hear any input. Part of the makeup of the working group was that we have to balance Brown Act quorum and numbers for that. And so that's part of how some members of the task force ended up on that, and community members as well. But as John and Ying and Naomi, I think, all pointed out, they are available. I wouldn't say 24/7, but they're available to have input from you, any of us, as we move forward and continue to move this work forward. So with that, we will adjourn the meeting until October 12th at 2 p.m. Thank you.